Hello and welcome to the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast. This is for July 23rd, 2024, episode 237. By the way, this is episode 237. I accidentally said yesterday's episode was 237. Yesterday was 236. Obvi. Oh my goodness gracious. Where do I even begin to begin? So, yesterday, not a whole heck of a lot went on other than I really need to dial back in on writing and focused writing. I'm just finding that I am very scatterbrained and lacking focus when I have been sitting down to write, which I'm sure is one of the main contributing factors to the fact that I haven't really come up with anything in about a month or so that I really feel like is a good new bit that I want to explore. I've just been writing a bunch of sort of ideas and concepts and observations, and none of them really have any teeth. And I kind of know they don't have teeth, but I'm just trying to, I don't know. I just feel like I'm in sort of a discovery phase where I just need to write as many ideas or concepts or bits down until I get to something that I feel is actually, funny. I did 2 open mics on Sunday, and I threw out, I did 2 separate 5-minute sets, and both of them I just threw out all new stuff. And there wasn't one thing that I said that I thought was interesting enough to try again. For example, I just made this observation that it seems that hazard lights on cars very rarely actually mean there's a hazard. It usually just means, hey, I'm illegally parked, but I'll be right back. which is so dumb. But, I don't know. I just saw a car with their hazards on, and I'm like, oh yeah, almost every time that I ever turn my hazards on, it's because I'm double parked, but I don't want to get a ticket, but it just means that I ran into a building or whatever, or I'm loading something in real quick. But not really a hazard, but also, yeah, not funny. Yeah, at least not funny enough to develop into a bit. So, yesterday I was like, all right, I need to get some writing on, and I just really need to try to be more focused. So I went and I grabbed some food, and I put some ear pods in, and I pulled out my notebook, and then usually what I like to do is put a little, some meditation sort of white noise in my ear pods so that it gives me some sensory deprivation. And what I did this time is I set an alarm, and I started writing at about 2:30, and then I just said, all right, I am not going to check my phone until 4 p.m. I'm going to set an alarm, and I am going to write until this alarm goes off at 4 p.m. And I did pretty good. I did check my phone. However, don't judge. Okay, don't judge me. I only checked my phone because I was writing this bit, and I wanted to do a little research. And so I Googled something about the topic I was writing about. Okay, I didn't just go Google or go on social media. All right, I was actually Googling what it was that I was thinking about, which, by the way, is very important as a stand-up comedian. Whenever we're talking about something, any sort of topic, the more data and information you can, like actual facts you can get about the particular topic, the better. Because obviously anybody who actually also knows about what you're talking about is going to want you to say things that are true and accurate. And I can't tell you how many times I've done a bit and have had somebody come up and be like, well, actually, if you really knew, if you did your research, that actually happened to us recently online. Me and Josh Novi in the Midlife Crisis Comedy Podcast. I know I talked about this, how we got trolled by some dude on our video where we make a joke about a woman's hair having braids, and we just made a joke that she was doing cultural appropriation. And the troll, Mr. High and Mighty Know-It-All, was like, actually, that's not cultural appropriation. The braids didn't originate from Africa. Now, what's really funny about this, and by funny, I don't mean funny, I mean annoying, is I was actually fully aware that braids didn't originate from Africa, that they originated from the Nordic countries. And I actually said that in the video that he was criticizing, trying to claim that we're a bunch of ignoramuses who don't know what we're talking about. But I was actually fully aware that they were Nordic. But, just stuff like that. If you're approaching a topic and you have any sort of factual claim about the topic, then you really want to make sure that you are, stating the facts. Now, when it gets to your opinion, that's where you can go nuts. You can express whatever opinion you want. You can exaggerate as much as you want, as long as it's funny. But those initial data points, better be dead on. Trying to think of. I have this memory of where I saw this play out, and it had to do. So I saw this clip of a stand-up comedian, and she was talking about a movie that had just come out, and she hadn't seen the movie, and she started jumping to conclusions about what she thought the movie was about. And I remember specifically I had actually seen the movie over the weekend, and it was very clear that she hadn't actually watched it, but then she started expressing her opinions on just what her assumption. Oh, man, this is going to be so brutal for me to bring this up and then for me to not remember what the movie was that she was kind of crapping on. Oh, man. It was a big movie. It was like the Barbie movie or something, but it was not the Barbie movie. Oh, geez. I'm to you listeners. It was not intentional. Come to me. Is it going to come to me? She just says, well, yeah, there's this movie, and evidently it's about this thing. But any movie that's about that thing is blah, 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 blah. It was kind of one of those. But if you actually watch the movie, it actually really had nothing to do with what the assumptions were. Oh, my gosh. It's so funny that I can remember all of this context and remember what it made me feel, but that I can't actually remember the actual movie that she was ragging on. Oh man, it's gonna drive me nuts. Why did I go down this rabbit hole? But I did. All right. I'm just gonna have to let that go. Okay. So if I think of the movie, I will, put it in the comments sometime. I mean, I see so many stand-up comedians because obviously I'm a stand-up comedian. Like 80% of my social media feeds are just clips of stand-up comedians who I've never heard of. And it sometimes makes me feel like there are a ton of stand-up comedians all trying to do what I'm trying to do. But anyway, so I did that though. I wrote for 90 minutes. I did not get distracted. I was only on my phone to do the research so that I don't say things that aren't accurate. And that's assuming I even end up trying to do the bit that I was writing anyway. But yeah, actually doing research, very important. I had a stand-up comedy teacher who was real big on that, and he just said, a lot of times when you have an opinion of something, or, you know, especially if you're talking about something that has happened in the world or you have an observation, he goes, a lot of times if you just go read a bunch of information, you're going to find a bunch of jokes just in the research. And actually, oh, wow, little trek down memory lane here. I remember in that class, I was doing this bit about how when I was in elementary school, I used to pee my pants at school all the time. I was that kid, right? And, you know, I had some jokes about that. And that teacher said, hey, you should just research that topic. Just see what comes up, you know, kids who pee their pants at school, and see what sort of articles come up. And so I did, and I just started reading all these articles, and it was really fascinating because, you know, it's this pretty significant thing that happened to me. It was like a major source of embarrassment and public shame and public ostracization. Probably contributed significantly to me learning how to make jokes and be funny to sort of ward off ridicule. And I remember just reading all of this stuff, and I read this article that said that kids who pee their pants at school is the third most traumatic thing that a child can experience. And number one is losing a parent. Number two is going blind. Number three, peeing your pants. And I just thought that was actually a really funny fact, that peeing pants is third. And then, of course, the joke I would say is, but in some regards, I think I still had it worse, because you can only lose a parent twice and you can only go blind once, but I peed my pants every day the cafeteria served apple juice or something like that, was my joke. Which always got a laugh. That was a pretty funny joke. And that joke came about by me doing a little research. And speaking of people feeling a certain way about material, there was this one show where I did that joke. And after the show, this woman comes up to me and says, by the way, I lost both of my parents when I was in elementary school, and that joke is not okay, and you shouldn't say it anymore. And I'm just like, oh gosh, wow, I'm so sorry. And then about 5 minutes later, another woman comes up to me and says, you want to know what? I lost both of my parents in elementary school. And that joke was just so funny. It just made me be able to laugh about it, you know, for the first time as an adult. And so thank you so much, right? And, you know, it just goes to show how subjective comedy is. And, you know, people want to take offense, they're going to find a way to take offense. All right. So anyway, I got my writing in, and then, man, I just had a night of athleticism. I will tell you what, I went to the gym. It was a cardio day. It was a brutal cardio day. And then after the gym, I went and played basketball for about 2 hours, which was so much fun. And there's a group of guys, we play basketball every Tuesday night, and we'd been on hiatus for about a month for like summer break and stuff. And so I was a little rusty, but it was super fun. And then tonight I tried to do a little bit more writing, and then try to get a bunch of work stuff done for the Midlife Crisis Comedy Podcast, and hit a bunch of roadblocks, which was frustrating. I was trying to set us up with a Groupon, and the Groupon website just wouldn't work. There was just this screen that would just get stuck, which seems to be happening a lot yesterday, or a lot recently. On Monday, we initially tried to file for an LLC, and the government's website was down, and we couldn't file for our LLC until late that night. And then, of course, Delta, Microsoft server or whatever went down. I'll tell you, everybody, world is crumbling around us. So let's go for our dreams before the infrastructure collapses. Sorry, that got very dark and very doomsday, which I am not a doomsday guy. All right, so that's just the quick update. Just trying to get writing more, getting more focused on my writing. I know I need to do it, and hopefully I will be able to start actually coming up with some ideas that I feel strongly about. Oh, one more cool thing happened yesterday is I got the footage back from my headlining gig early in July at the Cornerstone Church with Clean Comedy USA, and the video turned out so good, and I was just so pleased with the result. So much so that I have actually already parsed out one of my high energy bits from that and sent it to a casting director friend of mine who casts for America's Got Talent. And I sent her an email, but she gets like 300 emails a day from wannabe comics. That's really mean to say that. From comics, some of whom are wannabes. And so so what I do is every time I email her, because I know she gets hundreds of emails, I just send her a text. It's like, hey, I sent you an email just so you know to check. And I know that she'll, seek my email out. So we'll see. We'll see if she likes the bit I submitted, but it landed really well, and it's a huge audience, and so it makes me look like a big deal. So I thought that would be a good bit to send to her, and then I uploaded it to YouTube to an unlisted link so I can submit it to the to Dry Bar Comedy, because anybody who knows me knows that I have been trying to get Dry Bar to give me a special for about 5 or 6 years, and I can never get the guy to book me. The best I've ever got was he replied once to one of my submissions saying, sorry, we're already booked for this season. Email me in August. So then I emailed him in August and never heard back and never heard back and never heard back. And then I emailed him. I would just email him periodically every couple of months. And then the last email I got from him was, we're already booked this season. Try me again in August. So I've had the try me again in August email twice now, but so that's coming up. So that'll be here in a couple weeks. So I literally have it on my calendar, email Dry Bar August 1st. So I will send that video from a couple weeks ago. I think that's a really good video to send in. So that was very exciting. So now let us move into the second part of the Paul Green A Comedy PaulCast, and that is when I break down the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene and talk about each law individually, my thoughts on it, and whether or not I think that it is a law that will serve somebody long-term and short-term, or short-term only, or if maybe there's a more effective way to potentially approach life or to approach getting maybe the outcome that you were seeking by exercising that law. And today's law just kind of cracked me up because it just said, do not commit to anyone. And I don't know. That just sounded so hey man, don't commit, man. Just be free, man. Don't be tied down, bro. Which, let's be honest. I'm not married. I don't have a long-term relationship, so I have exercised that principle quite significantly in my lifetime. Although, for a significant portion of my life, I was desperately seeking to not be in that situation. Meaning I was looking for a commitment and looking to, find that special lady. And then it just kind of didn't happen. Well, really, ever. But now my focus has shifted to other things other than seeking a romantic partnership. And although the book is really talking about romantic relationships in that traditional sense, but it also, of course, like anything, talks about, even being committed to like an ideology, or being committed to a political party or whatever. I mean, it's pretty big on you want to you want to sort of stay in a state of aloofness from any sort of cause or person or really any commitment at all. It's just, oh yeah, I'm here and you'll listen in and you're kind of into it, but you're kind of not. And then the book says that is a way to make yourself like mysterious. It's really just saying play hard to get, the old game, the old relationship game. I'm playing hard to get. You want me, but you can't have me. But maybe I want you, but maybe I don't. And then the presupposition there is that you can sustain that forever. Which I'm gonna go ahead and call a little BS on that one. Sure, I think there is such a thing as not being overly ambitious or overly excited. Right off the bat, it's like, let things develop. Sorry, I'm jumping back and forth between like romantic relationships and, professional or whatever. But anywho, now what do I feel about that? Being aloof. I don't like it. I used to try to play all those games too when I was a desperate young man, and I was trying to get this fairy tale relationship that I had been told was my key to happiness, and it kept on not working out for me. I was never having luck with the ladies and blah, 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 blah. So then I was like, you just here's research again. You hear all of the things and you hear all of the strategies and you tell all your dude friends or hear all your dude friends and you read all of the books and stuff. And so many of them will say that sort of, adage of just, just play it cool. Don't be too into them. Don't overdo it. And I get that. I do get that to a point, but I don't know. I'm kind of like, where am I at now? I don't think that's a fulfilling way to live. This sort of always playing it safe, always being too cool for school, never letting anybody get too close. It's like, yeah, fair enough, but what I find far more fulfilling is if you're feeling something and you're all in on it, then go all in. And if you're not all in, then be all out. I mean, I think about that with me and Josh doing this 2-person show. I mean, yeah, I could be like, well, yeah, maybe we could try it, maybe blah 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 blah. and it could totally crash and burn. Absolutely. But it's so much more fulfilling and gratifying to just say, hey, let's give this a try. Let's go all in. You know, I'm not trying to, like, I don't know. This whole idea that that the way to get somebody into you is to manipulate them by not being that into them. I don't know. I say, if you're into them, be into them, and if they're not into you, then it's, and maybe that's the difference between being authentically into somebody versus being manipulative. It's like, well, if you give it a shot, you go all in, you're like, hey, I'm into you, whatever. And if they go, oh, well, I'm not feeling that, well, then it's just over. That's probably something I didn't get when I was younger. I would be like, oh, she said no, so now I just need to, you know, keep asking and keep pursuing and keep being annoying and obnoxious. But, you know, that's what the rom-com movies taught us, right? Is that if you just keep being annoying and obnoxious, eventually she'll see. So I don't know. I don't like it. I do not like that principle of do not be too committed, which again is totally hypocritical for me to say that because I'm committed to nobody. Well, that's not true. I'm, you know, committed to Josh according to some LLC documents. But, you know, committed to my craft, committed to principles. I'm committed to close friends of mine who know I'll be there for them if they ever call. I know they're there for me. I think that's really important. So I don't know. I don't know about that one. I can see the benefit to it to a degree in terms of at least allowing certain things to develop naturally and organically and maybe not jumping headfirst into the shallow end of a pool. Like I can see wisdom in that. It's, I think Brene Brown, how does she word that? She talks about how sometimes being too forward is actually not being vulnerable. You know, like if you just meet somebody and then right away you just dump all your garbage on them and your baggage as a way, you know, the illusion is, oh, look at, I'm being so vulnerable. I'm telling them everything about me, but it's actually not vulnerability because it's really it really stems from an insecurity that, oh, this person is probably not going to like me, or if I let this develop naturally and organically, it's going to end up crashing and burning. So I'm just going to expedite that process by dumping all my baggage, you know, on our first dinner date. And that way, when it's just so much, they'll leave right away. And so that way I don't actually have to invest time and real vulnerability for something that may not work out. You know what I mean? Anyway, I find so much more fulfillment in just going, hey, if I'm feeling something and it's speaking to me, I'm going to go all in as much as I can. And if something is not, or if I'm hesitating, then I'm going to be all out, which is also a commitment. You know, the whole anything that isn't an F yes is an F no. And, you know, I'm not great at this. I still have some maybes in my life and a little bit of gray area. And sure, you know, could I be better? Could I improve in that principle? Absolutely. But it's definitely something that that I do think about, which is how, you know, am I committed to what is actually singing to my heart and what actually is fulfilling to me? Or if I'm spending my time doing things that are not fulfilling or whatever, then maybe I should do what I can to remove those aspects from my life and try to fill my life up with as much of the F yeses as I can. All right, I think that's enough pontificating for one day, everybody. All right, I hope everything is going well in your lives, that your dreams are coming true, you're out there pursuing them, finding joy, finding fulfillment as you pursue what is speaking to your heart. All right, that is the podcast for today. This is for July 23rd, 2024, episode 237 of the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast. I love you all so much. I'll talk to you tomorrow.